All right, welcome back everyone to Everyday English Pod. We've got a lot to cover today, so let's jump right in.
Yeah, we're diving deep into the world of professional communication.
Exactly. How to communicate effectively in a business setting. That's what we're tackling.
And we've got a ton of sources to draw from, so.
We're talking articles, reports, you name it, all focused on making those workplace interactions smoother, more productive, and, well, just better.
We'll be looking at how to be clear, polite, and get your point across in a bunch of different professional situations.
Think everything from strategic planning sessions
To working with teams across the globe.
to managing budgets, negotiating deals, even handling a crisis.
It's all about giving you the tools and strategies you need to handle those sometimes tricky situations at work.
Because let's face it, communication is the backbone of any successful business, right?
Couldn't agree more. It all comes back to communication in some way.
So let's start with something that's super foundational, strategic planning, and setting those all-important objectives.
Makes sense. It all starts with a solid plan.
And what we saw in our research is that confirming those planning sessions up front is key.
Oh, absolutely. Making sure everyone is crystal clear on the core objectives from day one.
Because you don't want to be 3 steps down the road and realize, wait, we're not even going in the same direction?
Exactly. It's about aligning everyone from the get-go.
And that means outlining those top priority goals.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, making sure that your resources, your budget, your people are all geared towards achieving those goals.
And breaking those big goals down into those critical milestones, that's so important.
It is. It helps everyone see the bigger picture.
And understand how their work fits into the overall timeline.
Which, of course, brings us right back to communication.
Right. Because each department needs to know exactly what they're responsible for.
Exactly. What their deliverables are and when those deadlines are.
That's how you create a truly efficient workflow.
But it's not just about looking inwards, right? You also have to keep an eye on what's happening outside your company.
The market can shift, the economy can fluctuate. You got to be ready for anything.
Which is why our sources really emphasize the importance of having those contingency plans in place.
And building in regular review intervals, check-in points along the way to assess how things are going.
Because things change, priorities shift, you've got to be able to adapt.
And having solid data is crucial for making those informed decisions.
So what did our sources recommend for gathering that data?
They really pushed for gathering detailed feedback through things like recent surveys and analyzing those emerging trends.
That makes sense. So you can see what's working, what's not, and adjust course as needed.
Exactly. And then having those dedicated review sessions where you actually discuss the findings and make those necessary adjustments.
That collaborative approach is so important.
And communicating those updates and changes to everyone involved, that's key for maintaining momentum and keeping everyone motivated.
Because if people don't know why things are changing, they're not going to be as invested.
Definitely. And speaking of keeping everyone in the loop, our sources highlighted the benefits of using an online platform.
Oh yeah, like a central hub where everyone can access project updates, share feedback, and track progress.
Exactly. Think of something like Asana or Trello, a space for real-time collaboration.
Those tools can be a game changer for keeping projects running smoothly.
And for ensuring everyone has the information they need when they need it.
Okay, let's talk about something that can make or break any project, the budget.
The lifeblood of any business.
And our sources stress the importance of establishing a realistic budget from the very beginning.
Making sure all the departments have the resources they need, but also
making sure that the resources are allocated strategically, right?
Exactly. Looking back at past spending patterns, anticipating potential changes, and being flexible.
And involving the finance team early on in the process.
Oh, that's crucial. Getting their buy-in from the start can save you a lot of hassle down the line.
And headaches, too. Because the last thing you want is to have a project stalled because of budget approvals.
Definitely. And one of our sources actually recommended preparing a preliminary schedule and budget overview.
To share in those early meetings.
Exactly, so that everyone has a clear understanding of the financial landscape.
I like that. It sets the stage for more productive discussions.
And speaking of planning ahead, our sources also talked about the importance of anticipating potential roadblocks.
Those unexpected things that can throw a wrench in your plans.
Things like supplier delays, regulatory changes, or even just shifts in consumer demand.
You've got to have a plan B, and maybe even a plan C.
Exactly. Building in some buffer time, having backup resources.
And then once you have your final strategy in place, communicating those goals clearly, both internally and to your partners and clients.
Transparency builds trust and strengthens those all-important relationships.
And last but not least, when it comes to presenting those plans to the higher-ups, those final presentations need to be polished.
Well prepared Addressing all the potential questions and presenting a united front,
That shows you've done your homework.
and that you're ready to execute the plan.
Speaking of working together, let's talk about cross-cultural collaboration. It's becoming more and more common in today's globalized business world.
Oh, absolutely. And it comes with its own set of challenges and opportunities.
Our sources really emphasize the need to build rapport within those international teams.
Because it's not just about language barriers. It's about understanding different communication styles, cultural nuances, and even things like time zone differences,
It's about being sensitive to those differences.
and finding ways to bridge those gaps.
Providing language support programs can be super helpful.
Oh, for sure. And encouraging respectful dialogue, making sure everyone feels included during those brainstorming sessions.
Creating a space where everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas.
Exactly. And diversity training came up a lot in our sources, too.
As a way to raise awareness of those different cultural norms and avoid those sometimes awkward or even offensive missteps.
Because what might be considered polite in one culture might be rude in another.
Exactly. And misunderstandings can lead to conflict and tension.
And some sources recommended hosting regular workshops with experts in cross-cultural communication.
To really delve deeper into those nuances, right?
Exactly. And sharing real-world examples of successful international partnerships that can be really inspiring.
Showing people what's possible when you navigate those cultural differences effectively.
And of course, having a clear process for resolving conflict within those diverse teams is crucial.
That's a good point. When you have people from different backgrounds working together, disagreements are bound to happen.
And addressing those cultural disagreements quickly and fairly is key.
It's about listening to all sides, finding that common ground.
And ensuring that everyone feels respected throughout the process.
And sometimes it's the small things that can make a big difference, like being mindful of time zones when scheduling meetings.
Rotating meeting times, so it's not always the same team taking the late night or early morning call.
It's about showing that everyone's time is equally valuable.
And just acknowledging those cultural holidays and events.
It shows that you respect and value those differences.
Those small gestures can go a long way in creating a more inclusive and collaborative environment.
And to tie all of this together, having a well-defined plan, a company-wide policy that outlines how you'll approach cross-cultural collaboration.
With clear guidelines, but also some flexibility to accommodate those cultural differences.
Because you want a consistent approach, but you also need to be able to adapt to different situations.
And it's important to track how those efforts are actually impacting collaboration and project outcomes.
Sending out regular surveys, gathering feedback, making sure those initiatives are actually making a difference.
All right, let's switch gears now and talk about something that's always top of mind for businesses making the most of their budget.
Optimizing budget allocation, making sure every dollar is working as hard as it can.
And our sources emphasize the importance of regularly revisiting that budget, making sure it still aligns with your goals and priorities.
Which means taking a close look at what each department is requesting, projected revenue, and any unforeseen expenses.
Because sometimes you might find that you've overspent in one area.
And need to reallocate those funds to another area that's more critical.
For example, one source talked about potentially shifting some funds from marketing to product development.
Or investing more in employee training.
It's about making strategic decisions based on the current needs of the business.
Being flexible and adaptable.
And always keeping an eye on those projected revenues and potential market fluctuations.
Because things can change quickly.
And having a contingency fund can be a lifesaver in those unexpected situations.
It's like having a financial cushion.
Exactly. And with the rise of online business, our sources also highlighted the importance of allocating resources towards digital transformation.
Investing in your online presence, improving your website, maybe developing a mobile app.
Because that's where a lot of growth is happening.
And while you're looking at where to invest, you also have to look for ways to save.
Streamlining processes, negotiating better deals with suppliers.
Eliminating redundancies, anything that can free up resources for those crucial initiatives.
And when it comes to actually putting together that budget, our sources recommended consulting with department heads.
Getting their input early on.
To make sure those spending limits are realistic and align with their departmental goals.
That collaboration can really prevent conflicts down the line.
And when it comes time to present those budget recommendations to the executive committee.
It's all about being clear and concise.
Highlighting those key figures, explaining any proposed realignments.
And documenting the rationale behind each decision.
That shows you've done your due diligence and that you're a responsible steward of the company's finances.
And even once the budget is approved, the work doesn't stop there.
No, you've got to monitor spending closely and be ready to pivot if those unexpected challenges arise.
Okay, let's shift our focus to something that's become increasingly relevant. Remote work.
It's the new normal for a lot of businesses.
It is. And creating a clear framework for remote work is essential for success.
Absolutely. It's about setting expectations for schedules, outlining how people report their work, and ensuring everyone has access to the right tools.
So what are some key considerations for establishing that remote work framework?
Well, defining core working hours across different time zones is crucial for keeping projects on track.
Especially when you have teams spread across the globe.
Exactly. And while flexibility is great, having some overlap in those core hours allows for real-time collaboration when needed.
It's about striking that balance between focused work time and those collaborative moments.
And data security is more important than ever in a remote environment.
So updating those security policies, ensuring everyone is using VPNs, and keeping software up to date.
All crucial for protecting sensitive information.
And it's not all about the technical stuff. It's also about making sure remote workers still feel connected to the team.
That sense of belonging is so important.
So things like virtual team building activities, online coffee breaks.
Regular one-on-one check-ins between managers and their team members.
It's about maintaining those personal connections, even when you're not physically together.
And having clear guidelines about things like internet reimbursement and office supplies.
It's about being fair and consistent.
And all of this should be documented in a clear and accessible remote work policy.
A policy that can be updated as needed.
Because the world of work is constantly evolving.
All right, let's talk about negotiating a skill that's essential in so many aspects of business.
Whether you're dealing with clients, suppliers, or even internal stakeholders.
And our sources had some great tips for effective negotiation.
Transparency is key, being upfront about your objectives and addressing any concerns early on.
Builds trust and sets the stage for a more collaborative approach.
Showing empathy for the other side's perspective is also crucial.
Putting yourself in their shoes, understanding their needs and priorities.
That makes it much easier to find common ground and reach a mutually beneficial agreement.
And having clear objectives from the start helps to keep everyone focused.
Prevents those conversations from going off on tangents.
And asking open-ended questions can uncover those hidden priorities or issues.
To things that might not be immediately apparent.
And offering multiple options during the negotiation shows flexibility.
That you're willing to work together to find a solution that works for everyone.
And data is your friend. Back up your proposals with solid evidence.
Especially when it comes to pricing and timelines.
Because that builds credibility and makes your arguments more persuasive.
And it's also wise to anticipate those potential deal breakers.
The things that could derail the negotiation.
Have a plan for how you'll address those issues if they come up.
And remember to stay calm even when things get heated.
Use polite and professional language throughout the negotiation.
And summarize key points periodically to make sure everyone is on the same page.
Those regular check-ins can prevent misunderstandings.
And sometimes strategic concessions are necessary.
Those small compromises that can actually strengthen the relationship in the long run.
And finally, establishing a realistic timeline early on can help to avoid delays and frustration.
Moving on, let's talk about developing leaders from within.
Investing in your people.
Exactly. Creating a leadership development initiative to nurture that next generation of managers.
It's about identifying those high potential employees.
And providing them with the training and support they need to step into those leadership roles.
So what did our sources recommend for creating a successful leadership development program?
Structured mentorship and training are essential.
Giving them those practical skills and real-world experience.
And pairing those aspiring leaders with experienced mentors can be incredibly valuable.
Someone they can go to for advice and guidance.
Definitely. And workshops focused on communication, conflict resolution, and decision-making.
Building those core competencies.
And one interesting idea was a rotating leadership shadow program.
Where participants get to spend time in different departments.
To gain a broader understanding of the business as a whole.
That's a great way to develop a more holistic view.
And regular feedback sessions are crucial for tracking progress and identifying areas for growth.
Making sure those participants are getting the support they need to succeed.
And giving them opportunities to lead cross-functional projects that can really push them outside of their comfort zone.
Help them develop those problem-solving skills.
And it's important to have metrics in place to measure the program's impact.
How is it affecting team performance? Employee retention.
You need those concrete data points to demonstrate the value of the program.
Now let's talk about something that can sometimes be a bit awkward: performance feedback.
It's essential for growth, but it can be a delicate conversation.
Absolutely. And having a structured system in place can make that process a lot smoother.
Our sources recommended implementing a quarterly review process.
With clear goals and actionable feedback.
And incorporating peer feedback can provide a more well-rounded perspective.
Getting insights from those who work closely with the employee.
And when giving feedback, it's important to focus on specific examples.
Not just general statements.
Instead of saying, you need to be more organized, you might say, I noticed that the deadline for the X project was missed. Let's discuss how we can improve your time management moving forward.
Hey, that's much more helpful and actionable.
And don't forget about positive reinforcement.
Celebrating those wins and achievements is just as important.
It boosts morale and encourages continued growth.
And managers should be trained on how to deliver feedback effectively.
In a way that's supportive, respectful, and focused on development.
And self-assessments can be a valuable part of the process.
Encouraging employees to reflect on their own performance.
Identify their strengths and areas for improvement.
And when you're designing those evaluation forms, consistency is key.
While still allowing for some flexibility depending on the specific role.
And finally, incorporating those future goals into the review discussions.
Connecting those individual aspirations with the company's objectives.
All right, let's get creative now. How about some brainstorming on brand revitalization?
Re-energizing that brand image, making sure it still resonates with today's market.
It all starts with understanding your target audience. What are their needs and preferences?
What are those current trends shaping their choices?
And then taking a close look at your current brand, conducting a brand audit.
Gathering feedback from your clients, your employees, industry experts.
See what's working, what's not, and what needs a refresh.
Sometimes a simple update to your logo or color palette can make a big difference.
Give your brand a more modern look and feel.
And social media is a powerful tool for highlighting that revitalized brand.
Influencer collaborations, targeted campaigns. It's all about reaching the right people with the right message.
And packaging is another touch point that can really elevate your brand.
Make sure it reflects that updated brand identity.
And storytelling can be so powerful.
Sharing your brand's journey, how it's evolved, while staying true to its core values.
It creates an emotional connection with your audience.
And when you're making those changes, it's important to look at what other successful brands have done.
What strategies have worked for them?
What can you learn from their experience?
And consistency is key.
Your message, your visuals, it all needs to be aligned across all platforms.
From your website to your social media to your marketing materials.
And before you roll out those changes, concept testing is crucial.
Getting feedback from your target audience.
Making sure those changes will actually resonate.
Now let's talk about launching a new product, creating a launch strategy that sets you up for success.
First things first, clearly defining your target market, understanding their needs and pain points.
Who are you trying to reach with this product?
And then choosing the right marketing channels to reach them.
Social media, email marketing, partnerships. There are so many options.
And consider a phased rollout, launching to a smaller group first.
To gather feedback and fine-tune the product or a marketing strategy.
That early feedback can be incredibly valuable.
And working with retailers and online platforms can significantly expand your reach.
Making it easier for people to buy your product.
And those early bird discounts or limited time promotions can really entice people.
Create a sense of urgency.
And social media is your friend again.
Building excitement pre-launch, teaser campaigns, influencer endorsements, get people talking.
And having a dedicated support system in place post-launch is crucial.
A helpline, online chat, making sure those customers have the help they need.
Because that positive experience can lead to repeat business.
And tracking those key metrics, sales figures, customer feedback, website traffic.
All of that data helps you understand what's working and what's not.
All right, let's take a moment to talk about something really important. Employee well-being.
Because happy and healthy employees are more productive employees.
Exactly. And offering a robust employee wellness program can make a big difference.
So what kind of initiatives are we talking about?
Well, gym memberships or on-site fitness classes.
Mental health resources, counseling services.
Flexible work schedules to accommodate those individual needs.
Maybe even partnering with local healthcare providers for discounted services.
Wellness workshops focused on things like stress reduction and nutrition.
Empowering employees to take control of their health.
And it's important to have a wellness committee made up of employees.
To get their input on what they'd like to see in the program.
Make sure it's actually meeting their needs.
And setting measurable goals for the program.
Like reducing absenteeism or improving those job satisfaction scores.
It's about demonstrating the value of the program
All right, let's tackle sales forecasting now. It's an essential part of any business plan.
and making those forecasts as accurate as possible is crucial.
So how do we improve that accuracy?
Well, first, you have to identify those potential data gaps
Where are you missing information? What factors are you not considering?
and then refining your forecasting methods.
Looking at historical trends, incorporating real-time market insights,
And don't underestimate the value of qualitative input.
getting feedback from those on the ground, your sales teams.
They often have insights that the data might not reveal.
And consider implementing more advanced predictive tools, those powered by AI.
Because technology can be a powerful ally in forecasting.
And make sure you're accounting for things like seasonality, promotional campaigns, and those broader economic factors.
All of those can impact your sales figures.
And collaboration across departments is key.
Production, logistics, finance, provenance. Everyone needs to be working with the same forecast numbers.
That's how you ensure everyone is aligned.
Okay, let's wrap up with something that's so important for employee growth. Training.
Keeping those skills sharp and up to date.
So, how do we update that employee training program to make sure it's still relevant?
Well, first you have to assess the current program, what's working, what's not.
And then look at those evolving industry standards
What are those new technologies or skills that are in demand?
and incorporate those into your training program,
For example, adding modules on things like AI or data analytics.
because those are becoming increasingly important in so many industries.
Exactly. And conducting regular skill assessments.
To identify those individual learning gaps.
And then you can tailor those training sessions to address those specific needs.
And offering those self-paced online learning platforms can be really helpful.
Especially for employees who have different learning styles or busy schedules.
And incorporating those interactive elements.
Simulations, case studies, real-world scenarios.
It keeps people engaged and helps them apply what they're learning.
And don't forget about training those aspiring leaders
Providing them with the skills they need to step into those management roles.
and weaving those essential soft skills into all your courses.
Communication, teamwork, problem solving,
Those are valuable in any role
and gathering feedback from employees who have completed the training.
to make sure it's meeting their needs and expectations.
And offering incentives for completing courses can boost engagement.
Certifications, recognition events, anything that shows you value their commitment to learning.
Now let's talk about crisis management, something no business wants to think about, but something you have to be prepared for.
Because when a crisis hits, you need to be ready to act quickly and decisively.
So where do we start with creating that crisis management plan?
Well, the first step is identifying those potential risks.
What could go wrong?
Think about things like natural disasters, cyber attacks, product recalls, even a public relations crisis.
And then developing contingency plans for each of those potential scenarios.
What steps will you take? Who is responsible for what?
And clearly defining the roles and responsibilities of your crisis response team.
Who is the spokesperson? Who handles communications? Who makes those key decisions?
And practice makes perfect.
Conducting those scenario-based drills so everyone knows what to do when that pressure is on.
Because when a crisis hits, you don't have time to figure things out.
And in today's digital world, cybersecurity threats are a major concern.
So integrating your cyber incident response plan into your overall crisis management plan is essential.
And having those backup communication methods in place is also critical.
In case your primary systems go down.
And clear communication during a crisis is so important.
Keeping your employees informed, communicating with your stakeholders.
Having a designated spokesperson can really help to ensure that messaging is consistent.
And after the crisis has passed, it's important to conduct a review.
What worked well? What could have been handled better?
Those lessons learned can help you improve your plan for the next time.
All right, let's wrap up by looking at some emerging trends in market research.
Because staying ahead of the curve is essential for making informed business decisions.
And technology is playing a bigger and bigger role in market research.
Tools like social listening platforms allow you to track what people are saying about your brand online.
In real time.
Yeah.
And incorporating data from mobile app analytics and chatbot interactions can give you a more holistic view of your customer.
Because people are interacting with brands across so many different channels now.
And predictive analytics, powered by machine learning, can be incredibly powerful.
Helping you to forecast future trends and make more proactive decisions.
And don't underestimate the power of eye-tracking technology.
For understanding how people are interacting with your website, your ads,
It provides those insights into what's capturing their attention,
And consider experimenting with those more innovative focus group methods,
like virtual reality or interactive online forums.
ways to make those sessions more engaging and gather richer insights.
And keep an eye on what your competitors are doing.
Absolutely. What strategies are they using? What are they doing well?
And consider partnering with those specialized research agencies.
They can bring expertise and resources that you might not have in-house.
And finally, adopting those agile research methods, being able to adapt quickly to new information and changing trends.
That flexibility is essential in today's fast-paced world.
All right, last but not least, let's talk about something that's so crucial for any team: motivation.
Keeping those employees engaged and productive.
And it all starts with recognition,
Acknowledging those individual achievements.
celebrating those team wins,
Making people feel valued and appreciated for their contributions.
and setting clear goals. Goals that are challenging but attainable.
That sense of purpose can be incredibly motivating.
And open communication is key.
Creating a space where employees feel comfortable sharing their ideas and concerns.
And regularly checking in on team morale, those pulse surveys can be really helpful.
To identify any issues early on.
And offering opportunities for growth and development.
Training programs, workshops, mentoring opportunities.
Investing in your employees is one of the best ways to keep them motivated.
And don't underestimate the power of team building activities. It's about creating a positive and supportive work environment.
Where people feel connected to each other and to the company's mission.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, from strategic planning to cross-cultural collaboration to budget allocation,
To remote work, negotiation skills, leadership development, performance feedback.
brand revitalization, product launches, employee wellness, sales forecasting, employee training.
Crisis management, market research, and team motivation. Phew.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It really is. Communication plays a vital role in every aspect of business.
And mastering those communication skills can make all the difference.
We hope you found this deep dive insightful and helpful.
And that you've walked away with some practical tips and strategies you can use in your own professional life.
As you face those challenges and opportunities at work, think about how those core principles, clarity, empathy, strategic thinking, can guide your interactions and lead to more successful outcomes.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about building strong relationships, achieving those shared goals.
And making a positive impact in the workplace.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time on Everyday English Pod.